Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on May 23rd, Friday 2014, around 2:30 in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. Now, I thought I'd show you some of our archway effect here. I haven't shown that to you for a while because it hasn't, well, it's just now really truly filled in here the last about 4 or 5 days, and golly, it's so beautiful, and I get such a huge kick out of it when it does this. And we're going to lose a bit of that here probably next year because the county's going to come in and do some road work. But they were doing survey work here the other day, and it doesn't look like we're going to get nailed, you know, quite as badly as I thought we might be going to get nailed. So we shall see. Meanwhile, you know, I'll give you a look at the our oak trees here, and God bless our oak trees. And I'll give you a shot here of sort of our little bit of an undergrowth, you know, second growth, you know, understory to our forest here, quasi-forest. And then you've got, yeah, or then you've got sort of the barren emerald ash beetle killed ash trees, but we still have about 40% of them left, so we'll soldier on. Well, I know it's been a while since I've told you a story, so I'll tell you a story. Now today's story concerns a phenomenon known as fecal hoarders. That's like H-O-A-R-D-E-R-S, hoarders, like people that squirrel things away, you know. And fecal hoarding occurs pretty much 100% of the time in some kids that, and it's generally always a kid. You know, it's, you know, we're an adult to be doing this. This adult would be more seriously deranged than the child. You know, what happens is these kids decide they don't want to take a dump, and for whatever reason, maybe it's circumstantial, maybe it's, you know, because they've been raised a certain way, maybe it's actually there are a couple of there are a couple of anatomical and physiologic reasons why they might be hoarding. Hirschsprung's disease, which is sometimes called aganglionic megacolon, where you have a segment of the colon that, you know, and it's always from the, you know, anus up, that has no propulsive activity, and so the stool gets backed up in there. But in general, most of these guys are just, you know, kids that are sort of messed up in the head. Now, you know, some of them are mentally retarded. Some of them are, you know, have other sort of psychiatric problems. But, you know, sometimes, you know, in fact, I'd say probably around 70–80% of them, they're just stubborn. You know, and they just, you know, don't want to take a dump in the circumstances in which they find themselves. So when I was a surgery resident at Children's Hospital, you know, because you rotate through various services as a surgery resident your first year. You know, I was out there, and we got one of these 12-year-old kids in. God bless him. He was up from Portsmouth, you know, and you could, you know, he wasn't an obese child, but he looked like he was obese because he had this distended abdomen, you know, which if you laid your hand on it and looked at the X-ray, it was obvious it was pretty much full of stool. Well, what do you do? It's, you know, it's always the question in medicine and surgery. What do you do? What do you do? And well, this is actually a moderately easy problem to deal with, although sometimes can be quite spectacular. As you wash these guys out, it's called a rectal washout. More properly, it ought to be called like a colonic washout, but it starts as a rectal washout. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You know, you stick a hose up in there and you run some water in and pull the hose out and you stand back and wait and see what comes out. You know, it's kind of the opposite of squirt something in and take a look. It's kind of like squirt something in and, you know, well, it is taking a look, but it's like see what comes out. Now, as a medical student, I had experienced the joy of being the one to do one of these things under the supervision of a more senior resident. Well, a resident. At that point, I wasn't a resident. The resident. Excuse me. And, you know, and of course, you know, you put on a gown and you know, you do a parentectomy on the, you know, you get the parents away from the kid, you take the kid into the treatment room, and generally they're old enough that they can cooperate. You know, they ain't happy about it, but they'll cooperate. You generally don't have to sedate them or drug them to do this. And, you know, and you proceed to wash them out. Well, so the person who's doing the washing out is actually fairly close to the scene of the action. You know, you're sort of, first, you know, you sort of do a little bit of a sigmoidoscopy, but, you know, you can't really get it all the way in there because it's, you know, it's just packed chock full, you know. And so you can, you know, you run the hose in, you know, and generally you can get the hose to slide up alongside this massive stool. You know, you sort of thread it in, and thread it in, thread it in, thread it in. And then you run in about a liter or a liter and a half of water. Well, it depends on the size of the child. I mean, well, saline's best because you don't get the fluid and electrolyte shifts. But and then you stand back. You have a big bucket at the end, and and then you stand back. But see, you don't realize that until after you've seen, you've actually, seen one. Now, I hadn't seen one. I was amazed they were going to let me do this. It's now, you've got, we're going to do a rectal washout today, and you get to do it. Oh, great. Oh, great. They trust me. And so my junior resident, second year resident, who's now actually pretty much getting ready to retire as a major cancer surgeon down here at the university. He was supervising me, and he's saying, "Now you really want to be sure you get a good look at everything, and so getting your face up there, you're looking. It's like, and then all of a sudden, it's like Noah's flood coming out of this child's behind, Well, it's not a pleasant smell. I mean, this stuff's been backed up there for about 3 months generally for most of these guys, It gets all the, I mean, it just soaks you, It runs into the bucket, but a lot of it runs over the floor, But the kid feels a hell of a lot better. So that was my experience doing a rectal washout, and so here I am, the intern over there on pediatric surgery at Children's Hospital, and my former second year resident is now like a fourth year senior resident, and he happens to be there at the same time that I was doing a rotation out there when I was a first year surgery resident. And I really liked this guy. He and I got along just absolutely famously. And one of the reasons I liked him was he was one of the few people I've ever met in my life that's slightly shorter than I am. plus he's really decent guy, and he's, you know, a good surgeon and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, he was a medical student, and we needed to do a rectal washout in one of these unfortunates, and you know, we went over to him, and, you know, and I said, we're going to make your day. You're going to get to do a procedure by your very own self. You know, we'll talk you through it. I know you haven't seen one. We'll talk you through it. You can't hurt anything. You know, you'll have a good experience. So we went in and we did the perineectomy. We said, we're going to get your child fixed up. Well, and we weren't going to get the child fixed up. He said, you know, you really don't want to see this. No, we're not going to hurt him, and that's true. It, you know, doesn't really hurt the kid. Excuse me. So, well, you know, you're into the treatment room, and, you know, and everybody gets gowned up. You know, you put on the gown, and, you know, this is not a sterile procedure. You put on a gown basically like a mechanic wears overalls, you know, for the same reason a mechanic wears overalls. And so, you know, we're handing this medical student all this stuff and telling him what to do, and he's doing a pretty good job. And you know, running in the saline, you know, and then of course, you know, then you say, well, see, a sigmoidoscope has normally, you know, it's got a window on the end that you look through. It's not a lens; it's got a little door with a window in it, and you look up there. You can also open that door to slide stuff in and out. Well, you know, he had looked at the sigmoidoscope, and I guess for some reason, well, you know, you fed the catheter, you know, to do the flush out up the scope, you know, and slid it around the fecal mass and so forth, and so. So now let's see, you know, let me be sure you've done everything right. And so he gets his eye down there, and he's looking up the hole, and all of a sudden, it's like, whoosh, right into his face, his hair, you know, his whole body, just, you know, and then it kept coming. And then it kept coming and coming and coming. You know, it was worse than being in the cattle barn at the state fair on a hot day. Hell, it was worse. I mean, you know, the cattle barn on a hot day, you know, at the state fair smells a lot better than what we were smelling in that room. Well, you know, he learned a lesson. He learned basically, he learned several lessons. One, he learned, you know, don't stick your eye right down by the end of a sigmoidoscope, you know, up into a colon full of shit under pressure. That's the first lesson. And two, you know, have a little basic, you know, wondering what's going to happen to you wariness. Alrighty. Bye-bye, YouTubers.